Hello to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippi, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. We are into the nitty-gritty here as we have 4 more weeks of the NFL season, and it's time to break down Week 15 of action. There's a lot of good games this week, and just like always at this point in the season, they all have some incredible playoff implications. So we'll start right here with Thursday Night Football. The Falcons are out of playoff contention, but they would certainly like to play spoiler here to their division rival in the NFC South, the Buccaneers. We just talked about the video talking through kind of how the playoff picture is shaking up. So make sure you watch that video. I just uploaded it yesterday, but they are currently in a battle with the Panthers where the Panthers have come out of nowhere. The Bucs have lost 4 of their last 5 games. They need to find a way to get right. And no better situation to do that than against a Falcons team that is currently reeling. Bijan Robinson, really one of the only upsides of this team right now. They are just not finding ways to put it together. Kirk Cousins currently leading this team. Buccaneers, I think, are going to get this victory. They have a spread of minus 4.5. I think they cover it. They're playing angry, trying to get back on track and trying to fend off these Panthers that are coming out of nowhere. I think they'll get this victory. Moving on here to the next game. The noon games, we got the Browns and the Bears. You'd think that this would not be an exceptionally exciting game, but you never do know with the Bears. They find ways to keep things close no matter who it is they're playing. And the Browns honestly find ways to keep it close too because their offense is getting a little more interesting. You know, it feels like they're going to take more risks as the season comes to an end. Obviously, sitting at 3-10, they have nothing to lose at this point. And if they take risks and lose, they just get a better draft pick at this point. So they're probably going to be playing it pretty loose. The Browns defense is so good, they just find ways to keep things close. But I do expect the Bears to get this victory. They'll improve to 10-4. They have too many teams breathing down their neck. Lions right below them, Packers above them trying to break away for the division. This is not the time to lose the Browns here in Week 15. It would be a very Bears thing to do, but I don't hate them so much that I'm not clouded that much. I do think the Bears will take home that victory. Ravens and Bengals. This is going to be a really good game despite the fact that the Bengals are sitting at 4-9. They are basically eliminated, just not mathematically, sitting at 4-9. But the Ravens at 6-7. Steelers beat them last week, and it was a very frustrating game for them for multiple reasons. But the Ravens can still find a way to get back into this race for the division. It's going to be an interesting one. It's another home game for the Bengals. They almost just beat the Bills. And Joe Burrow is going to continue to find confidence. You know that it's not a throwaway season for him. No matter what kind of season it's looking like for the Bengals, he is going to try and prove himself. It's always a prove-it game when he plays other teams within this very gritty division. So I expect a close one here. And you know what? I honestly can't put it as the upset of the week because the spread isn't even -3. It's minus 2.5. But I do think the Bengals will get this victory. The Ravens really just aren't playing their game right now. They're not playing their brand of football. They need to figure it out. They might figure it out against this Bengals defense that has a lot of holes. They actually got a couple of turnovers against the Bills last week, but we're going to have to see how it all works out. I do expect Joe Burrow to do enough at home to get over that hump, and I expect it to be another close game, but I think they're going to win it. I think the Ravens are kind of in a weird spot right now, and this might end up killing their playoff hopes if they lose this game, but just something tells me I think the Bengals are going to take it home. Chargers and Chiefs. This is another huge one. The Chiefs, despite all of their struggles this year, are going to find ways to keep it close against any team, and currently at 6-7, they still have a chance. I don't think they have a chance for the division anymore. Honestly, actually, no, they are mathematically eliminated from the division with how well the Broncos have been playing this year. So that's kind of out of the question, but they still technically do have a chance to make the playoffs, and you know the Chiefs are going to find some way to sneak some wins away and keep it close. It's going to be an interesting one because the Chiefs have a pretty good defense and especially defensive line with the pass rush, and this is obviously not good news for Justin Herbert, who's been chased around for the last few weeks. I do think the Chiefs will take home this victory, improve to 7-7. The Chargers are kind of barely clawing their way to wins right now at this point with how poorly the O-line's playing, with how much Herbert has to do. I expect this to be one of those games where Herbert tries to do a little too much, throws too many interceptions or loses the ball in too many ways. His team hasn't exactly helped him out on the offensive side of the ball, even beyond the O-line. This defense has been playing lights out, but I do expect Mahomes to do just enough to find his way past the Chargers in this one and kind of diminish their hopes. Bills and Patriots, this is the game of the week for me. I'm really excited to watch this one. Bills need to find a way to win this game to stay alive in the AFC East, just mathematically at this point. They already lost once to the Patriots, so that tiebreaker would make it impossible at this point. I think this is going to be a really interesting game. Honestly, the Bills have a minus 1.5 spread here, which I think is pretty insane considering how well the Patriots have been playing this year, 5-2 at home. So their only 2 losses of the season have been at home, but those were pretty early on in the season. Drake May has been playing MVP football, and it's going to be a battle between Josh Allen and Drake May in this one. You almost kind of want to give the edge to the quarterback that's been in more of these QB battles. And I hate to say it, but I do think, well, I don't hate to say it. I actually really love the Bills, but I know I'm going to get backlash for it is what I mean. I do think the Bills are going to pick up this victory. I think that Josh Allen does not like losing to a division rival twice in a row. And despite it being a home game for the Patriots, I think that there's going to be just one too many plays where Josh Allen outplays Drake May in this game. I still think Josh Allen's the better QB, and I feel like there's going to be something that's a major turning point in this game where the Bills are going to break away. And I don't know for sure if that means the Bills are going to win this division, but I think they're going to make it interesting because the Bills are not going to just let the Patriots ride off into the sunset with this AFC East. It's just not going to happen. I really do think it's going to come down to the last week of the season. So that would mean the Patriots 11-3, Bills 10-4 in a very interesting AFC East. Commanders and Giants, this is kind of a throwaway game. Just for fun, I'm going to say the Giants win this one. It's been interesting to see Jackson Dart play and the mix between him and Jameis Winston. Commanders, I mean, they played the worst game of the year somehow with Jaden Daniels. Obviously, he was hurt, and he's going to continue to be hurt now that he re-injured himself. Eagles, Raiders, this might be a game where the Eagles let out all their frustrations about how the last couple weeks have been going. I think this is going to be an absolute blowout. Can't exactly pick the upset of the week here. So I do think the Eagles will take this victory. They're 4-2 at home this year. Don't expect them to put a loss here in the column against the Raiders, who've been really struggling on both sides of the ball. Jets and Jags. You know what? No, I'm not going to do it. I was thinking of upset of the week there, but no, can't quite do it there. Jags have such an opportunity here to try and take this AFC South. The Colts, obviously for an unfortunate reason with losing Daniel Jones, but that doesn't change the fact that does add to their opportunity. And the Texans also just on their heels. They're not going to lose this game at home to the Jets. They've played very well at home as well, 5-2. So I think that with a spread of minus 12.5, I do think they'll get the job done. And that leads me to the upset of the week. And I do have the Cardinals over the Texans. For those of you who are not aware of what we do, I have to pick at least one team that has at the very least a spread of minus 5.5 or worse. And I pick the Texans to lose to the Cardinals as the Houston Texans have a spread of minus 9.5. This is going to be a pretty rough loss for the Texans if that is the case, because they are feeling that they're so close to taking this AFC South from the hands of the Jags and some very important matchups coming up. I just feel like they're going to look too far ahead on their schedule and overlook this Cardinals team that has every once in a while given a team a run for their money. They haven't exactly played some very good football as of late, but I do think the Cardinals have a chance here at least to get the job done. So I think this is as good a pick as any for upset of the week this week. Cardinals would improve to 4-10. Texans would fall to 8-6. Might even lose their chance at a playoff spot if that's the case. It would make things a lot more interesting for some of the other teams that are trying to grab that spot from them. Packers and Broncos, this is the other game of the week. Packers just beat the Bears. They're walking on air. Broncos 6-0 at home, which is huge. If they end up getting the number 1 seed, obviously that's going to be a major factor there. That's always been a tough place to play. And the Packers have kind of been interesting the last few weeks. They've shown reasons for why you might want to doubt them going into the playoffs, but at the same time, they then go and beat their division rival and prove that they have that just factor. I don't even know how to explain it, but there's just this vibe that the Packers come across every single year where when you play in these games, they find a way to get victories. That being said, I can't say that they get the victory in this one. This is really worst case scenario for a Vikings fan to have to pick this game. I mean, honestly, it's worse than the Packers and Bears to me, because usually I would have no problem with the Broncos. As soon as Sean Payton became coach of that team, obviously as a Vikings fan, I despise them for as long as Sean Payton is the coach. So to either watch Sean Payton win or the Packers win is pretty much the worst fate right now for a Vikings fan. I do think the Broncos will take home this victory, and if that's the case, with me picking the Bills beating the Patriots, would take sole possession of the AFC number 1 seed. I don't know if they're going to relinquish it, especially if the Chargers lose to the Chiefs like I predicted. So it would really be a lot of fallout if what I'm saying in this video ends up being correct. Lions and Rams, this is going to be a really, really interesting one. I have kind of a dogfight in this one because the Lions have had kind of a weird few weeks as well, and the Rams have kind of dominated. They are 5-1 at home, and the way they've been able to both run the football and get some insane quarterback play from Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua absolutely killing it. Not to mention the fact that I talked about this in the last video I made yesterday, where the Lions are facing some of the most difficult run defenses that they will face all year long in the last 4 games of the season. And so it's going to make things really interesting. And that reason, I think, is why I expect the Rams to win this game. I'm going to say they take home the victory, and that's going to be the factor. When Gibbs can't run all over opposing defenses, this Lions team just has struggled. You know, obviously, it's always been kind of the MO of Jared Goff to play very good complementary football. He's not going to be elite ever, but he certainly has the ability to lead a good offense and make them a potential Super Bowl favorite. And this year, it just feels like they haven't had a leg to stand on without that running game, rather than it being more of a complementary thing. It just feels like they are fully reliant on the run. And when you can stack the box like that, it just makes it a little more difficult for this Lions offense. They're 3-3 in away games. I think they'll become 3-4, and they'll become 8-6, and potentially be out of the playoff race even further and start floating away from this Bears team. Panthers and Saints, you know, it's the exact same situation. The Bucs trying to make sure they don't, you know, let the Panthers back in. They obviously were going to come away with the victory against the Falcons in my eyes. It's the same thing here. I don't think that the Panthers are going to lose to a Saints team that are 1-5 at home when they have an opportunity here to make more of a name for themselves. They've been on an absolute tear, 3 of their last 5, and there are currently only minus 2.5 spreads in this game. I'm sure Panthers players see those odds and say, really? Like, we're 7-6 right now. We're tied for first place in the division, and you're going to count us out like that? Like, I'm sure that's got to be a chip on their shoulder. I'm also pretty sure that they are told by their coaches to not look at the betting odds for multiple reasons before a game. But either way, this is a Panthers team that kind of reminds me of some Vikings teams of past, where they like being the underdogs. They like that people doubt them. And I think they're going to come away with this victory, become 8-6. 49ers and Titans, I'm not really going to waste much time on this one. I don't really see any reason why the 49ers could possibly lose this game with as well as their defense has been playing and how poorly the Titans have been playing no matter who's in for their team. I don't expect it to be particularly close, and I think the 49ers will improve to 10-4. We'll continue to put pressure on the rest of that NFC West, and will pretty much solidify a playoff spot for them. Colts and Seahawks, I'm just unfortunately don't know if the Colts will have much of a chance the rest of the way. You know, Daniel Jones was a pretty consistent part of that offense, Jonathan Taylor is going to be a major factor, and he's going to keep them in games. I just don't know if he has quite the ability, even with as dominant as he's been. He's one of the few running backs who's been front runners for MVP, which is insane to say. But I still don't think that even that good of a running back is going to be able to keep the Colts in genuine playoff contention here. I think the Seahawks will get this one, and again, it's huge to have that potential home field advantage for the Seahawks. Another reason why they want to try and take over the Rams here, because they're 4-2 at home. I expect home field advantage to be a major factor for these Seahawks. Monday Night Football, a game that not that long ago we thought was going to be not even close, but the Dolphins putting up some good performances. They haven't exactly been against some crazy good teams other than the Bills, which was an impressive upset. But the Steelers versus the Dolphins, I feel like the Dolphins offense still isn't quite to a point where you really want to have much confidence with them against a defense like the Steelers. The Steelers also are kind of playing off some momentum after defeating the Ravens. They want to try and come away with this division. And the Ravens obviously playing a game that's definitely not a gimme, and I even had the Bengals winning that game earlier on in the picks. So I think the Steelers are going to see all those opportunities and jump on them. The Dolphins, I feel like their run has been a little more of a fluke than some of these other ones, and I think the Steelers will find a way to improve to 8-6 and start to pull away in this AFC North. But that does it here for the predictions. Again, I'm really happy to be back in this setup here, and I'm excited that I can at least get into the home stretch. I feel really bad that I wasn't able to get through the full NFL season, but with all the moving and all the busyness, it is what it is. I appreciate everyone still being here for the rest of the year, and stay tuned for everything else that is to come. But thanks so much for watching this one, and I'll see you on the flip side.